All right, it's done. Thanks for your patience, you all. So, welcome. This is Buildings and Business monthly webinar series. This is a free webinar that I host every week. I am so excited to bring this to you all where we talk about all things buildings, which is real estate, and business, which is entrepreneurship. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Alexis Hart McDowell. I am a real estate and business attorney here in Chicago, and I am here to serve you all. I am here to help give you the knowledge you need to help build wealth through real estate and entrepreneurship. So tonight's topic is business structure, strategy, and your success. So hit me in the chat right now, and let me know if you're thinking about starting a business this year, right? And what type of business, if you're going to do jewelry or a retail store or spa, whatever it is. Those are just a few examples that were on the top of my head. So hit me in the chat. Let me know if you're thinking about starting a business, that you want to go into entrepreneurship, so that I can know how to help you. All right. So a few housekeeping features, as you all know, please ask your questions. That's what I'm here for. I will give you the answers that you never thought was possible, right? All the Googling in the world cannot give you the answers that I'm probably going to give you in 30 seconds. Okay. So ask your questions. Please use the Q&A feature, right? Don't ask your questions in the chat, because it's too difficult for me to scroll through and find questions. So there's a Q&A feature. Use that feature to ask your questions, okay? And also post on social media. If you get some good information from this and you're like, oh my goodness, everybody needs to attend this thing, we want them to know that, right? So definitely post on social media. I will post some hashtags that you all can use. Just take a picture of the screen and then make sure your screen, your post, I should say, is public. Okay. And then I will be able to find it. Okay. So I am so excited. I want to talk a little bit about my next event. So I'm just popping in the chat right now. This is going to be the hashtags for tonight. Okay. There we go. So if y'all want to post, I appreciate you all using those hashtags, and I'll be able to find it later. I want to talk about the next event. Okay. Next event is huge. It is next Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. You all know I host these every Wednesday. And we're going to be talking about the behind the scenes of entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about the real deal, because I think a lot of people have some misconceptions about entrepreneurship and what it really takes to be successful. So I'm going to be talking about, how to determine whether or not you have a viable business. What do you need to actually focus on first, right? And I can tell you right now, it doesn't have anything to do with a logo. You should not be focusing on a logo. All right. And then kind of helping you with your mindset around that, meaning, can you really do this? I'm going to give you some characteristics that successful entrepreneurs, and that even myself know from being in business for, I don't even know how many years now, over a decade. Know that you need in order to be successful. And I want to share that with you all. So next Wednesday, April 21st, is the behind the scenes, the real deal on entrepreneurship. And you'll also hear from some other entrepreneurs as well, okay, who are either in nonprofit or for-profit businesses and just started their companies, and what it is taken for them to be successful as well. So you're going to get that behind the scenes look. And I think a lot of times we miss out on that. And you're going to say, wow, this was so informative to actually hear from other people as well. Okay. All right, next, as you all know, I always have freebies. Yes. I always have some freebies for you all. So I'm going to put those links in the chat. It is enterpriseesquire.com/freebies. And there I have several different things for business startup. I've got real estate. I've got nonprofit on there. So you will not go wrong by checking out my freebies page. I'm putting that in the chat as well. Let me just copy the link for that page real quick. There we go. It is enterpriseesquire.com/freebies. You know, everybody can get a free 15-minute consultation. That's enterpriseesquire.com/calendar. And then you know you can register for the next event. Please register and share with a friend. That's enterpriseesquire.com/events. Okay. So with all of my housekeeping done, technology on my side, because I'm up on Facebook at this point, we are going to go ahead and get started. So I have a whole presentation for you all this evening, which I just know you are going to love. So let me just go ahead and pull that up and then share my screen here for you all. See if I can do this the right way. All right. All right, you all see that? Everybody sees that okay? Fantastic. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Everything's good? See the screen good? Excellent. So here we go. Tonight, we are talking about structure, strategy, and success. I think a lot of people, when they first start out on their entrepreneurial journey, they first start a company, they have no idea how their structure and their strategy behind that business play into whether or not that company is going to be successful. Okay. And I think that people miss the point that those are conversations and thoughts and ideas that you have to have from the beginning of your business. Okay, because it will play into your success. There are so many different types of businesses. You all just typed into the chat all these different types of businesses. Some of them require different types of structures, right? And we're going to go into that and to understand how your business structure and your strategy play into the success of your company from the beginning. Okay, I think I could do that. All right. All right, so first we're going to talk about structure. All right, and I think I have a poll for you all. How fun is that? Let me launch this poll for you all. Here we go. All right, everybody vote. It's a very simple poll. I want you to choose the one that is not a business structure, right? Choose the one. Everybody get it in. We're just going to have this up for a couple of seconds really quick. Tell me what is not a business structure. Okay. Appreciate it. There are so many structures, right? People have no idea what is a business structure, what is something else, how does it play into, you know, what I want to do with my business, right? So it's very important that you all understand the various business structures so that when you go into a meeting with an attorney such as myself who can help you start your business, that you have some understanding of what direction you want to go in, right? This is not something that you can just Google because there's so many different answers out there that you wouldn't know unless you have this background and experience that I have. What is valid, what is accurate, what is truthful, all of that. Okay, so it's been a minute. I'm going to end the poll. All right, I'm going to share these results. All right, you all, can you see these results? So 11% of you said that a public benefit corporation was not an entity. 3 of you, or 33%, said an SCorp is not a business structure. And 56% of you, 56%, said that an L3C is not a business structure. Well, the correct answer is an SCorp. An SCorp is not a business structure, people. So I love talking about that because people think they know, right? So congratulations to the 3 of you who said that an SCorp is not a business structure. Okay, so that's what we're going to get into right about now. So let's talk about the types of business structures, right? And I know your mind is blank. It's like, wait, how is an SCorp not a business structure? It has corp literally in the name, right? Yeah, so let's go through this, right? So first you have the LLC, which is a limited liability company. It's the structure where the owners are not personally liable for the company's debts or liabilities. It really formed out of a sole proprietor, which has no legal formation around it whatsoever, And then them wanting to reduce their risk and liability and wanting to have that corporate structure that reduces that risk and liability, but not have to like actually adhere to all of the requirements that a corporation has to adhere to, right? They didn't want to have to do all the formalities with shareholders and all that other stuff. So the LLC, the limited liability company, was created. Okay. Then to expand on that concept, we created the Series LLC. And this is by far my favorite entity. And it's a form of the limited liability company or the LLC that allows for unlimited, keyword, we love that, unlimited segregation of membership interests, assets, operations into baby LLCs, right? So I use the word baby LLCs because people kind of understand that better, but the official term is independent series, okay? And that essentially is a umbrella parent corporation with little baby LLCs underneath. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay. And then next we have our standard SCorp. This is which are like huge major corporations with stockholders are typically all SCorps, right? So it's the structure in which the owners or the shareholders are taxed separately from the entity. So a SCorp, they pay their own taxes, right? Their income is taxed at that level. Then when shareholders receive dividends or other income from the company, it's taxed at that shareholder level as well. Okay. And then let's go over here to the right side of my screen, which is essentially our non or low or social benefit portion of corporate entities. Okay. So you are all, I'm sure, pretty familiar with nonprofit, right? It's the structure that is created for purposes other than making profits. So you want to form a nonprofit because you don't want to have to, the driving force is not making money. It is a social benefit, it is social conscious, it is some type of programming for the community or people at large, right? Or even a membership, okay? And then what spun off of that, just like the Series LLC kind of spun off of the LLC, we have an L3C that kind of spun off of a nonprofit, right? It's a hybrid between the LLC and a nonprofit, and it is called an L3C. Yes, that is an actual business structure. It is a low profit, limited liability company. And it's a structure by which the organization operates to the benefit of the general public without shareholders and without a profit motive, okay? Now, one of the big distinctions here is that an L3C is not tax exempt, okay? Yes, it is not going to get tax exempt status from the IRS, so which means that people can't make tax deductible contributions to an L3C, right? And get that write-off. You know how you make a donation to a nonprofit, they give you a receipt and you're able to add that to your taxes or have that deducted from your taxes as a charitable donation. L3Cs are not allowed to have charitable donations because they're not tax exempt, okay? And then lastly, it's kind of this new one on the scene, right? It's a public benefit corporation. And it's a structure to provide corporations with the option, right? Because even those SCorps right over there to the left, you know, they were always focused on shareholders, always money, profit driven, because that was the point, because they had shareholders who had invested in this company. And so the sole purpose was to increase these profits. Well, this structure gives corporations the option of having for-profit, but also having social impact purposes, right? So they can be for-profit, but their main overarching purpose is for social impact purposes, okay? And there's several things that have to be, that a public benefit corporation has to do. Some of the top two are transparency, right? They have to do have a lot more transparency than typical SCorps, and accountability, right? It has to be in their mission statement what their particular social impact is, okay? So those are some of the major types of business structures, right? So then you're like, hey, what happened to that SCorp that we were talking about though, right? I heard so much about that. Well, here it is. The S Corp and a 501c3 are both tax designations. That's right. So an S Corp is not a business structure. It is actually a designation that you get from the IRS. It's a tax designation that allows flow through of income and losses to you if you're the owner of the S Corp, or the other members' personal tax returns. And it also avoids double taxation of corporate income. Doesn't that sound wonderful? I just love when we can knock out double taxation, but still maintain all of that limited liability and asset protection. Oh, I just love it so much, right? So that is what an S Corp is. So to get S Corp status, I'm an S Corp, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an S Corp. And in order to get that, you have to form as a company first, either a limited liability company, either Series LLC or a C Corp. And then you file additional paperwork with the IRS that says, hey, I want to apply for S Corp status. And you fill that paperwork out, you send it into the IRS, and they determine whether or not you're going to qualify. Okay. But it is an excellent way. It also has some tax advantages dealing with it, because as an S Corp, there are some requirements, right? You can't have more than 100 shareholders. You have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. But the benefit is that once you're paying yourself a reasonable salary, you can take a distribution, which is called, under the S Corp, you can take a distribution, and that is not going to be subject to self-employment tax. How about that? So you're putting more money back into your pocket as an S Corp as opposed to a single member LLC. Okay. I know that's confusing, but hey, I'm going to make it as simple as possible for you all, because I form these types of corporations for clients all the time. Right. And then the other tax designation that you all are probably familiar with is a 501c3. Those are tax designations that make an organization eligible to receive tax deductible contributions. So your United Ways, your other Catholic charities, whatever nonprofit that you, Goodwill, that was the one I was trying to remember, whatever organization that you're donating to, and they give you a receipt saying, hey, that this financial donation is tax deductible, that's because they're a 501c3 under the IRS. Okay. Now, in order to qualify for 501c3 status, you have to be organized and operated exclusively for exempt purposes. And that is laid out in the IRS code, but it's typically educational, scientific, religious. And I think there's two other things that I can't remember right now. But I start 501c3s all the time for clients as well. I know this process like the back of my hand. All right. So S Corps and 501c3s are tax designations, which means you essentially have to form as some other corporate structure first, just like we saw on the other page. And then we file additional paperwork with the IRS to get these types of designations. Does that make sense? Hit me in the chat if that makes sense to you all. Let me know. Okay. And then so now I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of incorporating, right? I think that a lot of people know that incorporation is good for them, but they're not always exactly sure what all of the benefits are, right? Or what exactly the benefits are for them. So let's go through that for a moment so that you understand what you're getting when you go through this road of creating a business entity. Okay. I am just making sure that we are good on Facebook. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Now let's see. Asset protection, right? That is probably one of the first thing that is the first benefit that everybody loves about incorporating is asset protection, because that corporate structure, that business entity makes your company separate and apart and distinct from you. That's right. Separate and apart and distinct from you. Isn't that a beautiful thing? So your personal assets, your personal home, your personal car, all of that is separate, kept separate from your business. Your bank account, your savings account, all your investments, all of that is separate and apart from your business. Okay. And that is such a benefit because, and you have to maintain that. Okay. If you get into trouble and you start commingling funds between your business and your personal account, then the courts are going to kind of say, hey, you were commingling, you didn't keep the two entities separate, and now we're going to pierce the corporate veil. Okay. And they will basically, then combine your personal assets with your business assets because you're using your business as your personal bank account. Okay. We've all heard those stories in the news, right? So asset protection, when you keep your business separate from your business assets are protected and your personal assets are protected from each other. Okay. So if you have a crazy accident in your personal life, that is not going to affect the assets of your business, right? They may sue you for civil liability or for whatever you did and come against your personal assets, but your business assets will be fine. And vice versa. If something happens with your business, and they need to come after assets, they'll come after your business assets, not your personal assets. Okay. Make sense? All right, great. Next is limited liability. And I love limited liability because when you're running a business, there's risk, right? Everything has risk associated with it. And you just have to understand what level of risk you want to be involved in. And so if you run a risky business, for example, making baby toys, we all know that making anything for babies is going to be very, very high risk, right? So if something happens with your business, say something happens to a child or something, and they end up suing your company, right? Your liability, your personal liability is limited. Okay. And so your personal assets are not at stake and you're personally not liable unless you did something personally with that. But otherwise, it's going to be limited. The liability will be limited to the business assets. Okay. So if they're suing your company for whatever reason, it's going to be limited liability, which is to the extent of your business assets. Okay. And that's a great thing, because you want to continue to build your business, build assets, and you want to manage your risk as you move forward in growing your business. And then the last benefit of incorporating is tax savings. Now, I want to put a little asterisk here because tax savings is relevant to the type of business structure that you form. And we just talked about all the different business structures, right? So if you're a single member LLC, right? A lot of entrepreneurs love to just get an LLC. It's the easiest thing, corporate flexibility, all of that. They love to get that, but it doesn't mean that they've set themselves up for the best tax savings, because that income and expense is going to flow through to your personal tax return because the IRS says that a single member LLC has passed through taxes. Okay, it's a pass-through entity, and the taxes are going to go to your personal tax return. And on top of it, they're going to hit you with self-employment tax. That's right. So not only are you getting taxed at your own tax rate, which could be anywhere from 24 to 36%, depending upon if you're married, single, how many kids you got, all that good stuff, whatever your personal tax return rate, you're going to get hit with that. Then you're going to get hit with, I believe it's 15.2 or 15.3% self-employment tax on top of that, right? And so those are the minutia, those are the finer details that a lot of people who are starting out in business and a lot of entrepreneurs don't know. And so they start this LLC, they've gotten the benefit of asset protection, they've gotten the benefit of limited liability, but they have not maximized their tax savings. They do not have the right tax strategy in place for them. So, that's why I'm an SCorp, right? I formed as, people form as an LLC or incorporate first as a C Corp. And then, like I said, we go to the IRS, go knocking on their door, fill out their paperwork and say, hey, can you tax this structure as an SCorp? right? And then they let us know. And then that gives us better tax savings because, like I said, at that point, you're no longer, once you've got that SCorp status, you're no longer going to be hit with that self-employment tax. No more 15.3 or 2%, whatever, self-employment tax. That's gone, right? So the tax savings are relevant to the type of business structure that you select. That's why your business structure and strategy are going to equal your success. Okay. Everybody got that? Hit me in the chat. Does that make sense? Does that clarify some things for you all? Are you enlightened? Did you know all this stuff already? Let me know. I am so excited about this. So let's talk about a little bit of tax treatment. Now, I did talk about this just slightly a moment ago, right? But here we go. Pass through, right? That means the entity is not subject to corporate income tax. It passes through the entity to you, okay? To you as the owner, the member, the sole member, whatever it is, right? The profits flow through to you as the owner or whatever member you have individual tax returns. And pass-through businesses include sole proprietorships, right? Partnerships, limited liability companies, and S corporations, right? If you don't select that, okay, or request it, right? And we also talked about double taxation. This is what everybody avoids, right? They feel like, oh my God, if I don't do a C Corp, then I've avoided double taxation and I'm good to go, right? So I'm just going to form this LLC, not really understanding all the additional tax implications that go along with that, right? So you all know double taxation. The entity pays tax on their income tax at the corporate level, right? So McDonald's brings money in and they pay tax on that money at the corporate level. And then when the shareholders get their distributions or get income from the company, then they pay tax again at their personal tax levels. So that income that comes in that funnel, taxed first at the corporate level, then that income flows through to the individual shareholder, and then it's taxed again. That's what's called double taxation. And everybody tries to avoid double taxation, okay? Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we have our choice of tax designation. Now that just sounds wonderful, right? Oh, you're like, oh my God, I get to choose. The IRS actually gives me a choice because IRS don't give me a choice and nothing else, right? So yes, you have a choice of tax designation, and that is the ability to choose how you want your entity to be taxed. And this is what I've been talking about most of the night. Choosing to have your LLC taxed as an S Corp, choosing to have your C Corp taxed as an S Corp, right? Choosing to have one of your other entity structures taxed as a partnership. So there are ways that you can request the IRS, say, hey, could you please tax my little entity a different way, right? And you may choose whatever way you want, depending upon what type of business you're in, right? And what your strategy associated with that business. They have all of these different options because people actually utilize them for their benefit, but you just have to know what it is that you're doing or have the right professionals, on your team so that they can help guide you. All right. That is how I formed my business. I'm actually incorporated as a corporation, right? And then I requested S Corp tax status with the IRS. So I'm an S Corp. Understand how that works? So now let's talk about strategy, okay? And that means we've got to put all these pieces together, people, so that they work to our benefit, right? So we talked about all those structures, we talked about all the tax things. And so your structure and your strategy is going to equal your success. And I love this quote by Vince Lombardi: hope is not a strategy. Entrepreneurs, people who want to get into startups, who want to start their own business, it's like, I think I'll just do this and I'll hope and pray about it. You have to have an actual strategy for your success. Okay. You're not just going to hit the road driving across the country and not have a map with you, right? You're not just going to set out and figure out, this is north over here. Where's the wind? Okay, I'm going that direction, right? We're not going to do that, right? We're going to get ourselves a map. We're going to print out several different maps, right? So that we can figure out where we're going. We're going to use that GPS in the car. We're going to have our phones charged so we can use that GPS too. We're going to have all kinds of backup systems, right? So that's all part of building a strategy for the success of your business. So when you schedule a consultation with me and we're discussing your business that you want to start, here are some of the top questions that I'm going to ask you. And it always tickles me how entrepreneurs always think about the start. They never think about the finish. And part of that strategy and part of your success in executing your strategy is understanding where you want your business to go and how you want your business to end. And you may be like, Alexis, why would you say I want my business to end? I'm coming to you because I want it to start. I want to start something great. And I'm telling you, I'm going to be here to help you start something great too. But because I want you to be great and I want you to have a fantabulous start, I want you to have an even more excellent finish. Okay. So we're going to talk about your business purpose. What are you in business for? Right? I know what I'm in business for. I'm in business to help people of color build wealth through real estate and entrepreneurship. That is my God-given skill, talent, anointing. I love it. All right. That is the passion that he has put in my heart. And how I do that is through the legal profession. Right? By being a business and real estate attorney and just loving on my community and serving people however I can to help them build wealth. And by doing that, by helping them build wealth, I'm helping them build their knowledge first. Knowledge is the first step in building wealth. So I do these free webinars, right? This is such great information, right? And it's free, but I'm doing it because I believe in helping you build wealth. And to do that, I have to help build your knowledge first. Okay. So we're going to talk about what is your business purpose? What are you in business for? What are your goals? Okay. Then we're going to do a brief risk analysis. And when I say risk, it's like, what is the risk associated with what you are offering, right? We just said that if you're selling toys to babies, that is such high risk, right? It's probably the highest risk you can get. Okay. Next to flying airplanes or building airplanes with thousands of people in them, right? Okay. But if you're making handmade jewelry, if you're making homemade soaps, if you're making t-shirts, right? If you're selling gym shoes, that risk is so much lower than the other two that I just shared with you, right? And so we need to understand that risk and conduct that analysis because that is going to help us determine what type of structure is going to be best for you as well. Okay. Then we're going to talk about business succession. And you're like, oh my God, I'm just getting started. Why are you trying to make me give my business away? And that is not the case at all. But you need to kind of have an understanding. You don't have to have a full-fledged answer, but you at least have to have your wheels spinning, right? The thought has to be up there. And so many entrepreneurs don't even have the thought yet, right? That who will take over my business when I'm gone, right? And gone doesn't necessarily mean dead. Gone could mean, I'm retiring. Who's taking this business over, right? Or you could be incapacitated. Some people have strokes or in vegetative states. And it's like, okay, who's handling the business in that case, right? So there's a couple of different ways to, to review business succession, okay? But you got to think about that, right? So that's one of the questions and conversations that we'll have as well, because how you want your business to succeed you also depends on the structure, right? For example, if you're in a partnership, typically, if one of the partners dies, the partnership is dissolved, right? It depends on what that operating agreement says or that partnership agreement says. But typically, the death of a partner, incapacitation of a partner, the partnership is dissolved and that partner's interest goes to their estate, okay? So you coming to me and saying, hey, I want to be this partnership. I got this partner, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do this. And say, okay, well, we're going to go through the business purpose. We're going to talk about the risk analysis associated with that. We're going to talk about business succession. You go like, oh, wait, I want the business to continue on. The business should continue on. It shouldn't just die because I died, right? Or my partner died. This business needs to continue on. I was like, oh, okay. I'm glad that we had this conversation because then perhaps partnership is not the best entity structure for you. Okay. And then lastly, we're going to talk about exit strategy. It is my favorite topic to discuss with new entrepreneurs because they really just have no clue about what do you mean exit strategy, right? It's basically what is your long-term goal in divesting your business from yourself, right? You all know, you hear all these startups who are getting bought for multi-millions of dollars, billion-dollar valuations and stuff like that, right? So, that was their goal though. They started from the beginning with that thought in mind that, hey, I want to get bought out. I'm setting this business up to attract a certain type of investor, a certain type of business, and I want to get bought out. So they set up their business that way. They structure the business that way from the start. That's why so many venture capitalists and private investors, angel funding, they look for C corporations, right? Those C corporations are people with shareholders, right? They like that because they're able to get the shares, right? They're able to create classes of shares. So knowing from the start, hey, I want to get bought out. I'm creating this fabulous product, doing all this R&D. I need all this investment. I need all this angel capital, but then someone's going to come in and buy my company. Great. No problem. That's a fantastic exit strategy. Guess what? An SCorp is probably not going to be the best business structure for you. So I'm going to recommend some other type of structure, namely a C Corp, until we actually have a real conversation. Okay, so do you understand now how your strategy, your business strategy, and these are components of your business strategy, and this portion of your strategy, it goes hand in hand with your structure. If we don't understand your business purpose, your risk analysis, your business succession, or your exit strategy, you may not be starting off with the right business structure for you. Okay, so hit me in the chat. Let me know what you think about that. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Great information, great info. Oh, it's your first time hearing this. Yes. Yes. Oh, thank you. Someone said this is awesome. Makes perfect sense. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. You all keep sharing. Definitely keep talking to me so I know that I'm on the right track with you all. Okay. So now let's talk about success. All right. And I'm almost at my time. You all know I only do 1 hour. I do not keep you all. So success, right? And I love this quote by Biz Stone. And I believe this is the founder of Twitter. Timing, perseverance, and 10 years of trying will eventually make you look like an overnight success. Isn't that the truth of the matter though? I feel like a lot of times we feel like, oh, someone just ended up successful. They were overnight. They got their IPO and their stock purchase and they were valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. Then they got bought out and you're like, oh, well, that just jumped on the scene. It's like, no, they've been on the scene for 10 years, 15 years, that kind of stuff, you know? So I love that quote because there's a lot of work that goes into being an entrepreneur. Oh, and thanks for that comment. Someone said they thought they knew about business structure, but I'm definitely giving them something to think about. And that's my goal, actually, right? To give you something to think about. I told you my purpose is to help build your knowledge, to help you build wealth. Okay. So this is the type of knowledge that I want my community to have so that we're making the right choices from the start. All right. So let's talk about success, right? Now, I think, let me check the chat. Some of you all, I just want to go through some of the types of businesses that you all said you wanted to create. You said pet and retail grooming business. Love that. A spa. They're expanding their portfolio. So that means they're probably getting into some other type of business. They want to do real estate investments, property management. Love that. They want to do chocolate treats, vending, real estate investing. Love that. Love that. Such great variety, you all. Such great variety. So typically, and I'm just giving the typical, right? This does not necessarily apply to you. All right. If you want to know what applies to you, schedule a free 15-minute consultation. We can go through what it is that you're looking for and then select the right business structure for you. And then I can help you form that. All right. But I want to talk to you about two business structures that are the most popular, right? And why they are the most popular. And that is the limited liability company. And I talked about this a little bit early on, right? But I wanted to show you the difference, right? I told you that the LLC came first and they kind of said, hey, Series LLC for real estate investing, for property purposes, is a dream come true. A lot of savvy real estate investors have Series LLCs. Why? For this reason right here. It's lower startup costs and lower ongoing operational costs, right? But you're still getting the same corporate flexibility, right? Your ability to create series at a whim. You want to buy a property tomorrow? Cool. Let's fill out the form and send it in. And then guess what? Guess what? I started a whole new series just that quickly. Didn't need anybody else's help. So they love that corporate flexibility. They love the ability to add members, let go, remove members when they need to, right? And the beauty of the Series LLC is that each baby series, as I call them, can have its own structure, right? So you may have a series where you own this piece of property with your brother or a sibling or a cousin or something, right? But then you may start another series where you own this piece of property just by yourself. And then maybe another series where you own the property with your spouse or significant other or partner, right? So it allows for such great flexibility without having to start an LLC every single time and pay that fee every single time, and not having to pay that ongoing annual registration fee with the state. Okay, so here's my chart. I wrote the book on the Illinois Series LLC, you all. That's right. I have a whole book for you with all the benefits and everything. And you can go to my website at enterpriseesquire.com/freebies and download it. It's got this chart in there, so you won't be missing anything. This chart is in the book. And it really just breaks down for you one Series LLC versus the costs of two separate LLCs. And this is important for entrepreneurs, even outside of real estate, because a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a spirit that you have, right? It's the entrepreneurial spirit, and you end up creating multiple companies. So if you start a Series LLC from the beginning, when that next great business idea hits you, you've already got the right structure in place so that you can just start your next business venture, right? So I love the Series LLC. You got to think of it as like an umbrella company, right? So your umbrella company is like Alexis Enterprises, right? And then the series, the babies under that umbrella, are the different companies that I may own, right? I can have a company for holding one piece of property. I may have another company where I create t-shirts and make jewelry from, right? I may have another company under there that I'm a coach. So maybe my coaching services are separate and apart from that. And that's under that Series LLC. So it truly, truly allows flexibility without the additional cost when starting your business. Okay. So that's why I do recommend a Series LLC. And as an added bonus on top of that, remember we talked about how that tax designation, how your tax strategy goes into the success of your corporate, of your company as well. Well, that's the beautiful thing about the Series LLC, because each individual series, each individual baby cell that we call it, as I call it, can have a different tax designation. Can you believe that? Yes. Maybe you're in business as a partnership with a restaurant in one series, right? And you want that taxed as a partnership. And then you have another series where you're doing coaching, but maybe you need that taxed as an SCorp because you don't want to get hit with that additional self-employment tax, right? So there's so many different ways to play with the Series LLC. And from the start, right? And it really just gives you long-term growth and flexibility, all off of paying one registration fee. Oh, I'm sorry, there's no replay. When I do live free webinars, there's no replay. You got to show up live and enjoy, okay? So I just want to say that these are probably the two most popular. It's a Series LLC and then the LLC, and then throw an SCorp designation on top of that, right? Like I did, right? I've got businesses, LLC, through an SCorp designation on top of that for the tax benefit, all right? So that's typically what I recommend to entrepreneurs. Again, depending upon what their business is, right? That's not the right structure for every business, as I just discussed with you. I'm just telling you that these are some of the most popular ones. Now, you all may have known that LLCs were the most popular ones, but now you know that Series LLC is probably the way to go for long-term growth and reduction of expenses, and the fact that you can still get that same tax designation, tax advantage, tax savings on a series by series level, cell by cell level, when you do start it. Okay. All right. So I want to talk to you about my Entrepreneurship Enlightenment Master Class. Okay. This is a master class that I created because so many entrepreneurs are starting businesses, because I help them start them, but they have no idea how to run their business. They have no idea what they need to kind of set them up for success. So they're really just getting in it, but then they have no idea what to do once they're in there, right? It's like, I don't know how to swim, but I'm gonna jump in this ocean and figure it out. And that's not how it works, right? You will tire yourself out and either get rescued or drown. And that is just the truth of the matter. And I've been an entrepreneur, I don't even know how long now, 16, 17 years, somewhere in there. Okay. So I have an actual plan to help you fast track your success. So I think that you all would love a plan, right? We talked about starting out on our entrepreneurial journeys, and we don't do that without a map, right? We're not going to go drive cross country without a map. So we're not going to hit this road to success without a map, right? We need a plan. You need to understand what's going to happen along this road, along this journey, and what you need to do. We're going to talk about the 3 keys to startup and ongoing success, right? And these are 3 keys that entrepreneurs who are making multi-millions of dollars still use to this day, right? That's how real they are, right? I'm basically going to give you B-school knowledge without the price tag, literally. When I tell you some things that we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about offers. We're going to be talking about marketing. We're going to talk about customers. We're going to get into depth on this thing here, because I want you all to know that starting your business is one thing, running it is something completely different. Okay. And for those of you who haven't started your business yet, the fee is $97, and that will be credited towards your business formation, because you're going to have the confidence, you're going to have the knowledge, you're going to have the information to start your business successfully after this masterclass, and that you're going to say, hey, I need to form my business now. And I'm like, great. And I will apply that $97 fee to your business formation. Okay. So that's going to be April 28th at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. It is going to run probably 2 hours. It'll be 90 minutes to 2 hours, probably more than 2 hours, because as I continue to map this out, I'm like, I'm trying to keep it to 2 hours at this point. Okay. But it is $97. You can register for that online at enterpriseesquire.com/events, right? Do not miss this event. If you know someone, you may even have a teen in your life, a youth, a 20-year-old, 30-year-old, 40-year-old, it doesn't even matter. Tell them to come to this. They're not going to get the information that I'm going to give them anywhere else for $97. Even if they decide not to move forward, the $97, the amount of information that they're going to get, I told you, they're going to get B-school knowledge without the price tag, period, point blank. And I have a lot of you who continue to show up to my webinar series, because you know I don't do fluff or filler, only facts, right? So please sign up, bring a friend if you'd like, have them sign up as well. And let's get your business not only starting successfully, but let's get you up and running successfully as well. Okay. All right, so let me, I just want to talk to you all. I'm about to go into Q&A, but before we go into Q&A, because I am trying to stay on time, I'm on time. Before we go into Q&A, I want to talk to you about next week's session. So of course, next week we have behind the scenes, the real deal on entrepreneurship. I talked to you all about that already this evening. So sign up for that. Next week is free. All my business and buildings webinars are free. That masterclass at the end of the month is the only one that you have to pay for if you want to attend. Okay. But come on next week, April 21st, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure you register in advance. All right. You can go to Enterprise Esquire /events. You can go to my Facebook page or my website to find out about that. So what we're going to talk about next week, we're going to talk about the real deal on entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about how do you know whether or not you have a viable business? What do you need to focus on first? Can you really do this? And what does it really take to be successful? Okay. So those are all great questions. And like I said, I will have 1 or 2 entrepreneurs that we'll be interviewing next week as well to kind of give you that insight, that firsthand insight. You know how it is. You know, you try to tell your kid, don't touch the stove, don't do this, but it's not until they touch the stove and they realize it's hot that they won't do it anymore. So it's that firsthand experience, right? So I want to give you that firsthand experience from not only myself, but other entrepreneurs who are currently in it, currently going through it, and kind of understanding their struggles so that you can identify with that and say, hey, I am now aware of that. That's something I never would have thought of. And now I'm going to be better for that. And my business will be better for that. All right. And again, this is free. So go ahead and sign up right now at enterpriseesquire.com/events. And I will see you next week. Now, let's go ahead and dive into Q&A. Someone said they needed clarity on the tax part of the SCorp versus the LLC. So really quick, you know, the SCorp, as I mentioned, is a tax designation, right? So you can form yourself as an LLC, and I do this for a lot of entrepreneurs. I form them as LLC, and then I submit the SCorp paperwork for them. All right. So that means that LLC, because they're typically a single member LLC. When you're a single member LLC, it's just me, and I'm forming this LLC, then it's passed, the IRS considers you a pass-through entity, number one, and you're going to get taxed at your normal tax rate plus a self-employment tax of 15.3%. Okay, so to avoid that 15.3%, we fill out SCorp paperwork and we become an SCorp. Okay, hopefully that answers your question. I have another question here. Can you be a multi-member LLC with SCorp status? That is a very good question. I love that question. So what happens with a multi-member LLC is that typically the IRS will find a multi-member LLC taxed as a partnership. Okay, taxed as a partnership. So they do allow you to request SCorp status as well through the IRS. Remember, SCorp status just means, hey, I got to submit this to the IRS and see what they say. And typically it's not an issue. I don't want you all to feel like, oh my God, the IRS is going to deny me. You know, there's some requirements you have to follow, right? Because typically they want it done within, 75 days of your incorporation. Or at least prior, you know, and there's some exceptions that I can file. It takes more time, but there's some exceptions we can file if you already have your business and you want to go for SCorp. It's a little bit more difficult, but I have gotten it done for clients. Okay. All right. So let me see any other questions here. Oh, is there any limit on the amount of series that you can have under a series LLC? No, that's a great question. And to my knowledge, no, there isn't a limit. Now, it can get kind of confusing as you get bigger, and bigger, you know, but, you know, with the right professionals managing that for you, because as you do get bigger and bigger and you have more series under you, I fully expect you to have the right professionals on your team who will be managing that for you, right? You'll be having a tax person, you'll be having your bookkeeper, you'll be having an accountant that handles all of that kind of stuff, right? So that should not be an issue, but that was a great question. Another question here, what is the fee with each cell under each series? It's $50. Great question. Yes, it's a form that we fill out, send, and I will create a video for my clients that I create their series LLC for them. I have a video to show them how to fill out the certificate of designation. You mail it in because the state doesn't let you do it online yet. You mail it in with $50 and you're good to go, right? And as a little side note, I'm gonna give you a little bonus information tonight. Illinois has what's called a naming convention, and this is in the series LLC booklet, you all, that I wrote. So go to enterpriseesquire.com/freebies and get the Illinois series LLC guide that I wrote. Download that. Okay, this is in there. The little bonus: Illinois has a naming convention for its series LLCs. And what that means is that they want your series named a specific way. So if my overall series LLC is called Alexis Enterprises, then the series that I designate under it, let's say I bought a piece of property and it's like 123 Main Street, right? Then the actual name of that series is going to be Alexis Enterprises Series 123 Main Street. That is the full name of the series. And that is required under Illinois law because they have a naming convention. Okay. All right. Here's a great question. When you say pay yourself a reasonable salary, is there a window of time given before that starts? Yeah, that's a great question. There is, because the IRS is not, they're big meanies. I get it, but they're also reasonable to a certain extent. They know that if you're just starting a company, you're just starting out, you may not have all the income to quote unquote pay your full self a salary, right? It is one of the requirements, so they do pay attention to it, but it's really the bigger picture in your first couple of years of starting up, right? So reasonable salary. If in your first year of business, you make $100,000, okay? Reasonable salary is actually a defined term. They look at different factors to determine whether or not you paid yourself a reasonable salary. So for example, they're going to say, hey, this business is an attorney, right? Now, what are other attorneys making, right? That's kind of how you determine a reasonable standard. What are other attorneys making who made the same amount that she made and in the same geographical location? Because we know you may get paid more or less living in Chicago as opposed to living in Texas. There's, as opposed to living in New York, right? We know about that. So there's a series of factors that go into it, but it's nothing you need to be worried about at the very beginning if you're paying yourself, right? Now, nobody expects you to pay all of the money out of the business on your salary, right? That's not an expectation either. That's unreasonable because we know you got to have some money in there for expenses. You may have software, right? You may be hiring a virtual assistant. You may, need to pay Google for your email address. You got to pay Squarespace or WordPress for your website, right? Those are all business expenses. So they don't expect you to take everything out and just pay yourself, right? Because, they says a reasonable salary is $300,000. Well, I only made $100,000. So I had to pay all $100,000 to myself? No, absolutely not. Okay. So you just want to say, hey, I paid myself enough. The rest is associated with expenses. Is the overall picture reasonable for the IRS? Okay, so then it's fine. But what you cannot do is, make $400,000. We're still talking about being an attorney, and you only paid yourself $50,000. That's not going to fly with the IRS. That's not going to fly. They're not going to consider that a reasonable salary for an attorney in your area who made $400,000 in their business. Okay. So it is a long-winded answer for that. But again, some of those things aren't cut and dry, but if you're operating in the right, if you're operating with good faith and in the right train of thought and not trying to get over, then you should be just fine. Okay. All right. I want to check my time. Oh, I'm right on time. So here you go, you all. I want to say thank you so much for attending tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I love doing these informational knowledge building webinars with you all. Before you go, as you know, I'm Alexis Hart McDowell, so you can visit me at enterpriseesquire.com. Book your free 15-minute consultation at enterpriseesquire.com/calendar. You can get the free business startup guides, all of my freebies, anything, Series LLC is all at /freebies. And then go ahead and register for next Wednesday's Buildings and Business event if you enjoyed it tonight at enterpriseesquire.com/events, and tell a friend so they can join us. All right. Oh, wait. Oh my goodness. Did some more questions come in? Oh, you all are so welcome. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you felt like this was a wonderful session. And don't forget to sign up for the Entrepreneurship Enlightenment class. I guarantee you all are going to love that. If you love my free stuff, woo, honey, wait till you get some stuff that you have to pay for me. You're going to be super, super excited. All right. So thank you all. I so appreciate you all and have a fantastic evening. Good night.